What's going on, y'all? It's your main man, Rick the Dawn. Hey, what's going on? So I just got back from the theater and I am excited to talk about this movie. This episode is brought to you by wordy.com and vidmondo.com. Really cool websites to share with other people. Now, I will give you a quick little warning. This will be a spoiler review because, yeah, I want to talk about this movie. Now, if you want a spoiler free review, go check my channel, Rick the Don Lur, and you will find that. But this is the spoiler version. After you watch the original spoiler free video and then go see the movie, come back to this one. All right, first things first, what do I rate this film? I give it a 6.8, and I will go into depth about why I give it that. All right, in terms of the intro, they tried to do something new, and again, this is a spoiler review, so be careful here, but they tried to do something different, and I do admire the fact that they tried to go in a different direction. They reveal the killer in the first few seconds. When I first saw that, I initially thought that they were going to really stick to their guns with this, but they eventually wimped out of it. I thought that they're going to really really go for it. I thought that they were going to actually show the entire film from the killer's perspective. That's what I thought was going to happen. And when I saw that, I said, "Wow, now we're in for a ride." But like I said, they don't hold on to it. A lady's walking in the alley. She gets killed by, I guess you can call it the first Ghostface, and then he pulls his mask off, and he doesn't look like a Ghostface killer, or he doesn't look like an individual that would be a scream killer. So I kind of felt like they wouldn't stick with this. I'm like, okay, this just doesn't. I'm not seeing a connection. It's not tying in. And then, as you probably can guess, he goes to his apartment and he gets a phone call, and that's when the real, actual killer is, definitely around. And within the first few seconds, we had three goners. I thought the first kill of the lady in the alley was pretty sloppy. It just didn't feel screamish. I would argue that this was the weakest intro of all the films in the Scream series. The death didn't feel real. I almost thought this was like a stab, like a stab intro, and they were gonna eventually, kind of maneuver over to the actual Scream intro. This felt like the stab movie. It felt cheesy. And it turns out, no, it was actually the Scream 6 intro. I was like, yo, this is bad. And the discovery of the other killer in the refrigerator was kind of Jeffrey Dahmerish. And then you see the original, the real killer of the film come out and kill a little, little backups or what have you. But again, as far as the intro, the number one word that came to my mind as I was watching it was cheesy. I don't know why. As far as the kills overall, how were the kills in the film? Cheesy. I mean, the kills in this film were actually pretty bad. I'm not sure if it's the fact that stab kills are becoming a little outdated. You got to remember the slasher genre really peaked in the 80s, right? And they had a little bit of a resurgence in the 90s, but we're like all the way in the 20s now, and I'm not sure that stab kills really have the same impact as they used to have. We're in a different time. You can print a gun on a printer now. So it's just like it's almost laughable to watch a guy walk around with a knife and kill everybody. It's almost laughable because you tend to wonder as I watch the film, just why won't anybody just shoot this guy the entire time? Like and you're in a situation where you have a killer on the loose. Why don't you have a knife on you? Why don't you have a firearm? Why are you not heavily protected? These are some of the questions I was asking as I was watching the film. A lot of the kills seem to be over the top or underwhelming. They never really found that great balance. We had a couple kills where a guy was stabbed in the face, and it was just kind of like, oh, okay. It could be desensitized. Maybe I'm desensitized. Maybe it's because I've seen so much of this stuff over the years. It's like, all right, he stabbed her. All right, yeah, okay. And I think at the end of the film, when Samantha taps into her Billy Loomis side of her conscious, she's going crazy. She's just stabbing people like 22 times. And can we just talk about this real quick? Just as important as the kills in this film were the non-kills. They called it a twist within a twist within the film. We saw a lot of people get stabbed in this film just to come out alive on the other side. And can we just get this out of the way? Some of these kills, or I should say, I'm sorry, my brain is telling me they got killed, but they didn't. Some of these they're not deaths. Some of these incidences where you have characters get stabbed multiple times. It just threw off the film for me. It broke immersion because I'm like, there's no way that Gail Weathers should be alive. She was stabbed so many times in very key places. There's no way that Mindy should be alive. She was stabbed so many times in so many places. There's no way that Jenna Ortega's character, I forget her name in the movie, there's no way that she should be alive because she was stabbed so many times in so many places. There's no, you see where I'm going with this? There's no way that the guy twin, Mindy's brother, I forget his name in the movie, he got stabbed so many times. It was just like, dude, what is this? And then even the guy who, the little kid, the little teenage guy who was the killer at the end of the movie, he gets stabbed in the mouth. Okay, and then he pops back up. I'm like, what is this? So the kills were really, really bad in my personal opinion, and also the survivals were pretty bad. I'm not sure if anybody agrees with me on that, but it definitely was bad for me. Let's talk about the main thing here: the revealing of the killers. How did I feel about this, man? It was bad, y'all. Listen. I'm one of the biggest Scream fans out there. I really, really enjoy this franchise. But I'll be lying to you if I did not tell you that this was bad. This was the killer reveal was so bad. And the dialogue throughout the entire film was very bad. Now, I thought it was kind of cool that they came out with Scream 6 so fast. But I think I saw why it came out so fast. It was like a rushed effort. I think they were trying to beat a deadline or something. That's what it came across as. It felt like they were trying to cash in and they didn't really have a lot of faith in the film and they didn't want to take too much time and not take advantage of this resurgence of the series or the franchise. That is what it came across to me. It's like this is just it feels rushed. So the killers are well, actually, Richie Kirsch, the guy from Scream 5, one of the killers, Richie from Scream 5, the killer from that particular film. His father, his brother, and sister kind of come back to get vengeance for his passing, and we know that Samantha did him real dirty. So they come back and try to rectify that killing, and it was very reminiscent of Scream 2, where you had, I believe it was Billy Loomis's mother, come back to avenge his passing. So there was a continuity in this film that definitely connected well to the original Scream 2. But yeah, so you had Richie Kirsch's father, brother and sister come back as a trio, which was a really cool twist. I did like that aspect. They definitely tried to throw off the viewers or the audience. So having three killers for the very first time was pretty awesome. Yeah, but it fell so flat, and I'll tell you why. Because the sister, the lady, I forget her name, Chelsea, whatever her name was. First off, she died. She died. We saw her die, and they tried to write it off as she faked her death. And the cop got there first, so he was able to put some prosthetics and all that. I'm like, get out of here. There was a lot of those moments in this film where it was like, are you serious? Come on. That's movie magic if I ever seen it. I mean, we've all been here where we watching a movie and we're like, that's not possible. Come on, guys. And they just kind of like sprinkle it away as movie magic. Like, oh, this is a movie. Hey, don't take it too serious. So the daughter dies. We see her die. We see her get stabbed. And then the father is crying, bawling. We see all the police show up, all the paramedics show up, carry the body out. And according to them at the end of the movie, oh, well, I got there first and I was able to, sprinkle some blood here, sprinkle a little bit of prosthetics there, and then switch the bodies out. I'm like, what? That's not how that works. So you did all that by yourself. Nobody saw you. Come on. And then the brother of the trio killers was just so badly written. And he didn't act the best either. His acting was pretty rough around the edges. And it just didn't make sense. A lot of the times he was in the frame when someone was getting killed. So it made it harder to believe that he was the one doing that. And let's just talk about the cop real quick. Dude, I mean, I will give Scream 6 this much. I will say that I did not guess the killers correctly. Here was my guess. You want to know who my guess was? My guess was Mindy and Stu. I thought that for some reason Stu survived the television attack and he recruited Randy's niece and they were going to go on a little killing spree and get revenge. And I thought that because the Scream 6 mask looked so rustic and it didn't look knew it all. And I thought that this was a legacy thing where they're going to bring somebody back from the dead. That's what I felt like that's where the film was supposed to go. I felt like this was the screen where Randy was supposed to come back and they were just supposed to throw caution into the wind. I do like that they brought Kirby back. A lot of times throughout this film, I thought Kirby was the killer, but it was never really the case. She did an amazing job in terms of misdirecting the audience, but come on, guys, ladies. Kirby did not. Well, I don't know the actress's official name, but she did really bad with her acting. The acting in this film was below average. And I'm not just saying that just to get shock value and just try to pan film and throw shots and darts at the film. The acting was really, really bad. It was like B acting at its finest. I was like, goodness gracious, this is bad, even for a horror film. So yeah, Kirby didn't do so well with her lines. It was very choppy. I would say the best acting that I saw from this film came from Samantha. She had the best script though. It wasn't like she was just a head and shoulders better actress over everyone else. She just had the better storyline, the more believable storyline. But yeah, the killer reveal was very underwhelming. Anybody who tells you otherwise, I'm not sure. They have to be a super fan to be satisfied. Who's satisfied with Richie Kirsch's father, sister, and brother being the killers for Scream 6? Anybody? Me either. I mean, that was the best shot. Oh my gosh, that was terrible. All right, let's talk about the pros and cons real quick. The pros that I'll go back and forth. The pros was the setting. Placing this in New York was very refreshing. I got kind of tired of Woodsboro, the same setup, the same gimmick, but seeing New York was pretty cool. But then again, let's switch over a little bit. Then again, along with those pros, or that pro in particular, it just came across as unbelievable. If you've ever been to New York, they have police everywhere. I mean, there were several times you heard gunshots, like when Ghostface goes into the bodega or whatever it is. He's killing everybody with a shotgun. If you know New York, I mean, you have police officers in New York that follow hip hop artists, for crying out loud. You don't think they're going to follow a guy in a Ghostface mask after a lady gets slaughtered in the alley? You find body parts in the refrigerator. Just walking, if I know New York by that point has already put a ban on Ghostface mask and bans on Ghostface costumes by that point. All right, a lady dies in the alley, and then you got a guy who gets chopped up in the gets tossed in the refrigerator, and another guy gets stabbed. I mean, come on now. So the police just wasn't present. I mean, they always showed up very conveniently late. Then you saw the stabbing of Mindy on the train. That didn't make sense to me. Okay, that just didn't. It did not make sense to me. The fact that she was able to get stabbed and with all those people around, I'm talking about like literally it felt like 60 people surrounding Mindy on this train, and somehow someone in a Ghostface mask was able to get this close to her face and stab her 3 or 4 times without her screaming. Wrap your mind around that. Have you ever been on a New York subway or on a subway in general? All right, it's like everybody is looking at everybody. If you're me, you're watching everybody's movement, especially if they're all in like horror costumes. It's like, dude, not only am I watching everybody, I'm watching everybody twice. So it was just so unbelievable to see Mindy get stabbed on a train, not be able to scream. Like Mindy runs her mouth the entire movie. You never get her voice out of your head. And when she needs to talk the most, she doesn't say anything. She doesn't scream. She doesn't belch. It was just hard. So I like the setting of New York, but I absolutely despise the fact that it just didn't feel like real New York. The setting was cool, but it just wasn't real. If you ever played an open world game where it's like, I like the open world concept, but there's some things that just don't work realistically here. And that's what I felt like. It was an open world. It was an open world Scream movie. Okay, that I want to go ahead and coin that. It was an open world Scream movie. It was just open. It wasn't as linear as Woodsboro, but it just didn't feel realistic because the police response was just underwhelming. If you've ever been to New York, you know what I'm talking about. It's people everywhere, eyes everywhere, cops everywhere. Period. There's no other way around it. Cons. I'm gonna go back and forth. Cons. Stu did not make a return. That is why I bought a ticket to see Scream 6. I wanted to see Stu again. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if someone would have told me who the killers were. If someone had said, "Hey, the killers, it's 3 killers," I would be like, "Oh, really? 3? Wait, so Billy comes back, Stu comes back, and they hide. Okay, keep going. Tell me more." No, it's Richie Kirsch's father, sister, and brother. No, I don't want to see that one. All right. And then it only multiplies the disappointment when you tell me that, okay, his father is this random guy that comes out of nowhere. He works for the police. And for some reason, as a police officer, he dives into the realm of serial killer and starts to murder people. It's just not realistic. It threw me off. The immersion was breaking. It was not working for me. Okay. And then you got a sister who just doesn't fit the profile of a killer. I'm sorry. She did a terrible job acting, and I'm not that guy. I'm not going to pan people because I respect the art. I respect the talent that was on display. I respect the hard work that goes into remember your lines and stuff like that. But I'm calling a spade a spade. She acted terribly in the movie. Okay, she was not believable as a killer at all. Even at the end, when she finally kind of breaks character, she's like, "Hey, so I'm the killer. I did it." It's like, no, we don't believe. No, who wrote that for you, baby? I'm so sorry. You got them lines. You had to remember that. I'm the killer. I'm like, oh no, that's not it. And then the brother was worse. I'm like, come on, dude. I bought a ticket to see Stu. That's what I bought a ticket for. Anyway, back to the pros. The theater. Okay, the theater was absolutely awesome. When they walk into the theater and you see the history of Screen 1, Screen 2, and so forth, and of course, in their universe is Stab. But just to see that was awesome, and seeing all the history. I believe one of the characters in the film called it a shrine. I absolutely enjoyed every part of that because as I told you, I am a Scream fan. I absolutely love the series. So it was cool to see the the ambiance, to see the theater, see the pictures, see the suits, see the masks, see all the little artifacts from over the years. I absolutely enjoyed that part. Man, the entire film could have been set in that theater, as far as I'm concerned. All right, so another con, going back to the con side, too many survivors. I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to dislike films that are afraid to kill the protagonist. I feel like, I think the last movie I saw that had this bug was Avatar, the one that just came out. It's just like you cannot have a film where the protagonist outlasts It's like in the film Avatar, not to segue off topic, but in the film Avatar, one Avatar died and 70 humans died. It's just like you got to make it make sense. It's the math is not mathing. So in this film, all the bad people died. They all died very easily, in my opinion. They didn't really put up much of a fight. I mean, Richie Kirsch's father got shot a couple times. He was gone. Other dude got stabbed in the mouth. He did come alive again, but he got shot again. He was gone. He didn't really pose a fight, a threat. The girl, she got killed pretty easily. But when it came to the humans, or the protagonists, they took like 40 bullets, 70 knife stabs, thrown off a bridge, thrown off a ledge, ate by an alligator, stumped by an elephant, threw in a lion's den, drowned, threw in some fire, and they still like, I'm hit it, I'm back. And then you got the ambulance come by, and then they push him in the ambulance, and they in a little thing like, I'll be in part 7. It's like, bro, how did they survive all that? And then the bad guys, they took 2 stabs to the ribs and a shot in the leg, and they gone. Like, come on. Like, it's too many survivors for this film. Let me tell you who should have gone. Mindy was supposed to go. Gail was supposed to go. The other twin, the male twin, was supposed to go. Jenna Ortega was supposed to go. That's 4 people that should have been gone in this particular installment. 4 people that will not, they're going to be in part 7. And my thing is, they should have killed off at least 2 of those 4 because they were facing absolute danger. Seriously. Okay, back to the pros. The tension. There was a lot of times when I was watching, like, okay, all right, here we go. Come on, Stu's coming. Here comes Stu. Not Stu. Okay, all right. I'll wait. Good job. The tension is building. It kept building and building. And I'm like, all right, here we go. Stu. All right. No Stu. Okay. So the tension was there because the entire time, if you're a fan of the franchise, if you're a fan of the series, you thought Stu was coming back. So every time you got close to reveal or you saw something happen or you saw something like this, you all automatically thought that Stu was going to make a return. Now, Kirby did make a return, but I'll be honest with you, her return was underwhelming. She came in as an FBI agent, which didn't make sense. It didn't make sense to me. If she's a FBI agent, how did she go under wraps for so long? Why did it take so long for her to be revealed or be found out? I feel like if you were going to use this FBI angle, she should have returned in like Scream 5. All right. It didn't make sense. It didn't make sense to me at all. And I didn't like the fact that the father found out that she wasn't an FBI agent currently, and he didn't like have her arrested for impersonation or something like that. So it's like if you're trying to take out this group of teenagers, you might want to get rid of the former FBI agent that has a firearm. It's just a lot of things that make sense. And of course, my final con was the weak killer reveal. Richie Kirsch's father, sister, and brother. That's who you got. And then they tried to make sense of it, like you got him, and we have to come back and revenge his death, and we have to finish his movie. And then at the end, this is the most ridiculous part. They have Samantha and her sister dead to right. Richie Kirsch's father has the firearm pointed at him. Both of the siblings have knives just pointed at him, and they're like, "I can't shoot you till you put the mask on. Put the mask on, then I'll shoot you." I'm like, bro, what is this? Y'all been stabbing and slicing and cutting and dicing the entire movie. And now all of a sudden you got the two people you want and you won't take a shot until they put the mask on. I'm telling you, it was serious. I'm telling you, it was just like this. Samantha and her sister were like, "Hey, you're not going to shoot us. Then you're not going to shoot us." All right, baby. She was grabbing his hand like, "You're not going to shoot. Pull the trigger." He's like, "No, I can't do it till you put the mask on." "You ain't gonna do it, all right." "Hey, I picked up a knife." Samantha's like, "I picked up a knife. I'm about to stab you." And he's like, "I can't do it. Put the mask on first. Don't stab me till you put the mask on." It was like that. And it was like, yo, this is not good. It broke immersion for me. See, I'm a person that goes into a movie theater. I expect to see a semblance of realism. I don't expect a horror movie, especially, to be realistic at all. But I'll be honest with you, it has to still make sense. And and then Jenna Ortega is hanging from a balcony, and Samantha's holding the arm like, "I can't let you go," and she's holding this girl with bloody hands. In reality, she would have slipped about 5 minutes ago, but she's holding on to Jenna Ortega like a rope. And then you got the other killer, the girl killer. No, it's the guy killer. He's underneath Jenna Ortega's legs, just trying to slice her ankles. Like, "I can't reach you. I can't get you." And Jenna Ortega's like, "Let me go. Let me go. You have to let me go." And somehow Samantha lets go Jenna Ortega, and somehow as she lets her go, gives her the knife too. Like, she lets her go and then gives her the knife. I'm like, where's gravity? How did you let her go in and give her a knife? And then Jenna Ortega falls to the ground with the knife, and somehow she's able to stab the guy who's already been down there with a knife. I'm like, how did you fall down with a knife, not get stabbed, and then stab the guy in the mouth? Man, I'm sorry. Anybody who tell you this movie was, and then I looked at Rotten Tomatoes before I went to go see the film, and the critics gave it a 75%, and the audience gave it a 95%. How? See, this is why I'm doing movie reviews, because I'm not going to do it with bias. Do you hear me? I love the Scream franchise, but I will not act like this movie was good. It was not good this time. And that's okay. I mean, Scream has been great for 6 or 5 installments. 5 out of 6. This was a miss for me. Okay? Now, let's talk about some other things. Sequels. If they do a Scream 7, they have to do this. Come on now. If you're not going to bring Stu back, fine. If he's actually gone and that's a canon death, so be it. But you gotta give the audience what they want. We're the one that's paying. Don't be too smart, because Scream 6 was I don't know who made this film. I don't know who pitched it. They did a terrible job. I know what the pitch meeting sounded like. "Hey, so listen, Richie Kirsch's his father comes back." And if I would have heard that, I would just like, "Yo, Pan, that's a terrible idea. Throw it away. But it probably went like this: like, "Hey, Richie Kirsch's father come back. He has siblings, 3 killers this time." Like, "Oh, okay." And then it's gonna be in the Big Apple. Oh man, we could do so much there. I mean, they had a couple good nuggets. 3 killers was a good nugget. The Big Apple was a good nugget. But Richie Kirsch's people, like, why? We don't want that. All right, I don't know what they was doing. So you gotta give us what we want for Scream 7. You know what we want? We want Billy Loomis's daughter to tap into who she keeps pretending like she is. I love the flashback to Billy Loomis as much as I did in Scream 5. It was awesome here as well. Because Billy Loomis is a legendary character within the franchise, so it's good to see him. But we want to see Samantha just go ahead and do it. Just do it. Go ahead. And maybe Scream 7 can be the Scream where they show what it's like being Ghostface. Show the entire movie from Ghostface's perspective. This time being Sam and Billy going on a tangent, just taking people out, and at the end, whatever. So be it. Let whatever happens. But show us what happens from Samantha's point of view or Ghostface's point of view, and let her just tap into it, for crying out loud. Because we need that. Scream 6 was a letdown, in my opinion. All right, another possibility for a sequel: Stu's return. Give us Stu back, or just or confirm his death, because this film definitely threw this in there. And I quote, somebody says that's if Stu actually died. Okay, so even this film is playing around with whether he survived or not. So either tell us he's gone or give us Stu, for crying out loud. Okay, or maybe you can use the evil twins angle. These people have been stabbed so many times. I'm starting to think they're immune to bullet. I mean, to metal. All right, so go ahead, just have a little evil. They know everything about horror films. Let Randy's niece and nephew just go wild and just cause chaos. There were several times in this film that I thought they were going to actually use that angle, the evil twins, and let them just go crazy, especially since they had such a vast knowledge of, horror films in general. I thought that they would let them run wild. That was not the case. They used Richie Kirsch's father, sister, and brother, who came out of nowhere. I mean, not one time in Scream 5 are these people mentioned. And if they are, forgive me, but I just didn't hear it. I hate when movies do that. There's no mention of a person, then all of a sudden they're all in the film as if they've been there all along. I hate that about movies. So it's like, I really dislike that. Now, one more possibility for a sequel: allow Sydney to die. All right. I understand that's going to cause a big rift. A lot of people are going to be upset about it, but it should have already happened. Nobody goes through this many events and not leave out with more than a couple scratches. I mean, come on now. This is, I'll tell you the biggest crime of this film. The biggest crime of this film is that a police officer, a armed police officer with a bulletproof vest, was taken out by a little kid, because Jenna Ortega is like literally 20 years old, and this movie probably was filmed a year or two ago. So he got killed by a 19-year-old girly girl. I mean, Jenna Ortega is a girly girl. Now, Samantha looks pretty strong and like very capable, but she's not taking out a cop with with a gun and a vest on. Just not going to happen. So that's the biggest crime. The fact that they made the killer so posable in terms of having a gun. He's a cop. He's trained. He knows how to shoot. And somehow he gets taken out by two girly girls with knives. It just, and he also had backup. This cop had a firearm, a vest, and two backups with knives. Both of them had knives. And for some reason, three people were outdone by two girly girls. That is the biggest crime of this film. Listen, I'm over it. I'm over it. 6.8. I don't care what anybody tells you. They're gonna say, "Oh, it was so amazing. It was a 9." Bull crap. It was a 6.8. And I'm being very generous. Okay. I mean, if I'm being harsh, I'm giving this film like a 6.1. It was really rough around the edges. I'm gonna give it a 6.8 because I'm realizing that the way that I saw the film is not the only way to see the film. 6.8. I don't care what nobody says. Now let's rank as my final component for this particular video. Let's rank all 6 screens now. Power ranking, if you will. Now that part 6 is out and about. Okay, so my favorite Scream of the 6 movies in the franchise right now. Can you guess? Number 1 for me, drum roll please, Scream 1. It still hasn't been outdone. And this one doesn't even come close. Scream 1 still remains the creme de la creme of the Scream franchise. Wes Craven was behind it. No surprises there. If anybody tell you that there's a better Scream than Scream 1, is not a true fan, because like I said, Wes Craven himself oversaw that film, and that's why it was so good. All right, my number 2 Scream movie is Scream 2. I love Scream 2. It was very, very close to surpassing 1 for me. But again, the killer reveal was a little choppy. You brought Billy Loomis's mother out of nowhere. Okay, I hate when these movies do that. you bring somebody who was not mentioned, but only like one line of dialogue mentioned in the previous film, and all of a sudden they're alive and well and they're present and they're taking over the entire film. I hate that. So I did not like that. I thought that the original reveal of Billy and Stu was the way to go, and they nailed it. And they tried to recapture that flame, and it just fizzled out for me. So anyway, number 2 for me, there's number 2 Scream movie, Scream 2. All right, the number 3 Scream film was Scream 4. I love Scream 4. I like the whole reboot concept. I like the fact they tried to bring in a new Sydney. That was pretty dope. And yeah, and it made sense all the way through. It made sense. It was more logical and more realistically based than Scream 6. So for number 3, I gave it again. I'm giving 4. For number 4, my number 4 favorite Scream movie was Scream 5, the one before this one. I thought they did an amazing job with revitalizing the franchise, which is why I was so excited for Scream 6. I thought that Scream had really, taken its last great stance, but Scream 5, in my opinion, revitalized things. So that's why I'm going to give it the number 4 slot. For number 5, I'm going to give it to number 3. I did not like the Roman angle. Again, I'm always going to be against films that just shoehorn people in. Now all of a sudden, Sydney has a brother, and he's doing all these spectacular kills by himself. So as you might be able to tell, I'm not a big fan of shoehorning characters in to make a movie make sense. And I'm not a big fan of things not making sense logically. You have this one guy, Roman, just like supernaturally taking all these people out by himself. How? How? And then all of a sudden, at the end of the film, he can't shoot right. He can't stab right. He's missing everything. I'm over it. So number 5 for me was Scream 3, and of course, my least favorite Scream of the 6 right now is Scream 6. Like it really did not do it for me. Okay, now I do apologize for anybody who expected other something else. But if you know anything about me, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. I'm gonna keep it real with you. This was not a good. It was a good movie. No, like, I won't say good. It was an okay movie, but it just as far my expectations were too high. That's the problem. If I went in if this was like Scream 1, I would have probably liked it a little bit more because there would not have been this huge mountain of expectation there. But let me tell you, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. Will I watch it again? I'm going to give it maybe about 5 years before I touch this film again. I want to watch all these surrounding videos of real Scream fanatics who watch every detail and they can tell me all the things I missed. Maybe then I'll have a better appreciation for part 6, but as of right now, just watching it as is, not good. All right. Thank you for watching. I am not the killer.